So today's session, what we'll see is we'll continue with seeing and understanding the dictionary concept. So earlier what we were seeing is we were using the XML config file, and we read the XML config file and we tried adding the data to the dictionary. So today what we'll see is we will use a Excel config file. We'll try to read the Excel config file and go ahead and add it to the dictionary. So as you know, what is a dictionary? A dictionary is nothing but, as the name suggests, it's going to be a place where, or a structure where it is going to hold the values of in the terms of a key and a value. So just as a dictionary book, if you have apple and it will give you the meaning as saying that it is a fruit. So similar to that, if you have a config value which says log file, it is going to be stored in C/users, then log file will be the key and C/users will be the value. So similar to that, let me go ahead and read this particular information from an Excel file. So what is a config file? Just to reiterate from the previous class, just to give a tiny brief as to what we have done in the previous class. We said config file is nothing but every project in real time would be having certain information that will remain unchanged, or that is not going to be much changed inside the project. For example, anytime you start or execute a particular project, your log file location is not going to be changed. It is just going to be pointing into a particular location and all the logs are going to be saved there. For example, another example is your retry number. So when your application encounters any errors, so you might have a retry mechanism for your application to recover from that crash or recover from that error, and then retry that many number of times. So always you would go and initialize your maximum retry number as to a particular number of times. So say suppose one time or two times. So you would just go ahead and say two, so that your maximum retry number, your application will retry two times in case it encounters some error. So similarly, this is what is your config file. So similarly, what happens is in the project, whenever you're going to have information that is going to be either unchanged or the information is going to be remaining as the same when you're going to execute the project. So these kind of information are collated and they are put it in and they are placed inside a config file. So when I say a config file, the config file can be either in any format. It could be an XML file, it could be a JSON file, or it could be an Excel file, or any file, or even a CSV file. So based on the data source, so based on the data file that is, based on the config file extension that it is, we will read that particular file in a different way and then add it to the dictionary. So what we have seen previously was if the data file was or if the config file was in the format of an XML. So we saw that how to read. You used a read XML and then you said, read text file, and then you said a deserialize, and then you went ahead and read the information and then finally added to the dictionary. So today what we'll do is we'll do the same concept but with an Excel file as the data source. So the config file is going to be an Excel file. So what I've created a project and I've created a config file as well. So this is the config file that I have created. So in my config file, I have just grouped all the information that I feel that it is a constant or it need not be changed inside the application. So I have a maximum retry number here. So I'm going to just change it. They change the value to 2. So maybe my application will recover and retry 2 times. And I have a username field, the password, the counter, which I'm going to use for Excel write in case, you have an Excel output file that you want to go ahead and write. So that time I will be using the counter, the concept of counter. And then I have another key, which is called log file location. So every time I want to create a log file, it will go and place itself in the C/users folder with the current dates .log file will be the name of the file. So these are my general constants of my particular project. So let me see how will I go and read this particular config file, and I'm going to place it inside the dictionary. So this we call it as key and this we call it as value. So whenever I go ahead and refer this information as what is the key for, what is the value for the key max retry number, it would go ahead and say value is 2. So let me go ahead and add the information of reading this particular Excel file and turning it into a dictionary structure. Or I'm going to just copy this information from the Excel file and I'm going to place it inside the dictionary structure, so that anytime inside the project I want, I can go ahead and just look at the dictionary and go ahead and use the information. So I'm back to my program. So I'm going to go ahead and start my program. So I'm going ahead and opening my main workflow. I'm going to remove, I'm going to add a sequence or a flow chart based on your requirement. So here I'm just going to go ahead and add a flow chart. So initially, you have learned the Excel concept. So what will we do? For the first thing, we will go ahead and read the Excel file. So for me to read the Excel file, I'm going to go ahead and use read range. So between the two what you need to read. So we are going to use workbook.read range, and then I'm going to mention which is the Excel file that I'm going to read. So I'm mentioning the config.excel file, and I'm going to read it from. So the name of the sheet is just sheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and I am not bothered about my range. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my range. So here what by default what happens is read range is going to convert it into a data table. So let me go ahead and create a new data table. So Control K, DT, Excel output. And there my data table gets created. So once I read the particular information, the next step is I'm going to loop through the information. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to use for each. So for each, we have two for eaches. For each for a data table, we are going to use it only inside the data table. And whenever you're going to iterate the actions for any kind of other files other than a data table, then you're going to go ahead and use for each control. For example, when you're using an array, a list, and any collections object, or you're going to loop through a list of folders, so things like that, you're going to use the other for each, which is a for each control. So let me go ahead and use for each row. So for each row in the particular data table. So my data table name is dt underscore excel output. So what am I going to do is, in the Excel sheet, this is going to be my row of 0 and this is going to be my row of 1. So I'm only interested in the name and the value. So this is going to be replaced as key and this is going to be replaced as value. So let me go ahead and change the information. So let me go ahead and say, so what is, so let me go ahead and use two assigns. So to assign is going to be, let me go and create str key. Str key is going to be my row of 0 of 1. Row of 0.toString. So basically this is going to be my key, this is going to be my value. So this is going to be my row of 0 and this is going to be my row of 1. Or if you don't want to do like that, you can say row of name or row of value. Row of value and row of name. So key is going to be my row of name, right? So you need to convert. So you're going to do it as .toString. So similar to that, I'm going to use another assign to assign the value. So now what is going to happen is I'm going to create a new variable str value. So this is a string variable which is going to use the or store the values in the Excel sheet from the Excel sheet. So this is going to be row of value dot toString. So now that we have created a key and the value, so whatever information that you have, so the first time it iterates. So the first time it comes inside the loop or inside the data table. So what is going to happen is this is going to be my first row. So the key will be coming and sitting in the row of name of .toString is going to come and sit on the str key variable, and row of value .toString is going to come and sit on the str value variable. Similarly, it will go for the next loop, which is the iteration 2. There again, you will have username sitting on the str key value, and row of value, which is the customer ABC, will be getting held on the str value field. So let me just go ahead and print this information so that you know it better. What am I going to print? Is equals concatenation str key, again a concatenation followed by a space, comma, value is you want to give a toString, it's fine. If you don't want to give a toString, go ahead with that. So let me go ahead and give a dot toString, and there you have. So let me just go ahead and execute this particular stuff. Okay, it's going to throw an error because the config file is open. So you know the drill. Whenever you're using a read range, which is the workbook.read range, you're not supposed to use the config file, which is, you're not supposed to have the Excel file open. That's why it says the process cannot access the file because it's used by another process. So let me go ahead and close that particular Excel file. So let me rerun it again. So the first key is the maximum retry number and the value is 2. So it has come inside the for loop. It has read the information from the Excel. It is loaded into a data table and then we are looping it through the data table. So the first row in the data table, we said this is row of name and this is row of value. So the key came into str key, which was the row of name, which came as the first row was maximum retry number and its corresponding value was 2. Now it goes through the second loop. Username is getting loaded and its corresponding value has been loaded. So similarly, the third loop, password, and then the corresponding password. The fourth loop is going to be the counter and its corresponding thing. The final one is going to be the log file location and its corresponding value. And now it's going to end the loop and it's going to just come out of the program. Thereby the program has stopped. So what are we going to do now? Now that we have the key and the value, we just need to straight away go ahead and add it into the dictionary. So let's go ahead and add it into the dictionary. Let me go ahead and add it into dictionary. So when I don't find the dictionary activities, what am I supposed to do? I'm just going to go ahead and create that particular or install that particular package. So let me go ahead and download Microsoft.activities.extension. And I say install, save. This is going to So now it is going to install my dictionary related stuff. So now I'm going to search for the dictionary related activities. I will have all the activities listed out here. So even before using any of the activities, number one point is you need to create the variable for the dictionary. So let me go ahead and create a name for the dictionary. So my dictionary is going to be dic underscore, let's say config. Okay. So what is the data type it's going to be? It's going to be in the concept of dictionary. So let's go for the browse for types. Go ahead, system dot generic, system dot collections dot generic dot dictionary, and you would have the dictionary key. So you would basically choose this and you're going to select what type of dictionary it is going to be. So here I'm going to keep it as a string and a string. You know the reason why. So I'm just going ahead and changing it to string comma string. So when I'm going to give this particular information as string comma string, it is going to come out and it is going to get stored as a dictionary variable. So whenever I create a new variable, I need to go ahead and initialize this particular variable. How would I initialize? New dictionary of whatever information I gave. If it was a string comma string, I'm going to give string comma string. If it was an integer comma integer, I'm going to give an integer comma integer. Now that I have initialized or created a dictionary variable, I'm going to use this particular dictionary variable to store the information that I have read from the Excel file. So I have read the information from the Excel file. I'm going to add it to the dictionary. So let me go ahead inside the loop only. I'm going to add. So basically, why you're going to add? Because you have the information from the Excel file per loop, right? So per iteration, you're going to get the key and the value. So I'm going to go ahead and add it as the add to dictionary. So when I'm going to do add to dictionary, it's going to ask me what is the variable of the dictionary key and the value. So my T key is again string and my T value is again string. Go ahead and select that. Now you have a add to dictionary. Now you're going to give your dictionary name. So what was your dictionary name? Dictionary underscore config file. So what am I going to add as the key? I'm going to add the str key and str value. So every time my for loop iterates, my str key and str value will be changing as per the row information that it has got. The first time it will be the max retry number and this will be 2. In the second loop, it comes, the same information is going to have the counter Excel, right, or the username field, and then the corresponding username value. So similarly, this will be changing, and every time it changes, it's going to be stored it inside a key and a value. Let me go ahead and change it as str key, and this is going to be str value. So by using this, you're going to add the dictionary file. Now I'm going to put another message box, and I'm going to just say, print it as dictionary information added. Let me put a message box and say, so let me execute the program again. The first information is maximum retry number, and the value is 2. The second, that is added to dictionary, and the second information is username, customer ABC, that is added to dictionary again. And the third information is password and its corresponding value, added to dictionary, counter Excel, right? And finally, we have the log file location. So once everything is added to the dictionary, it has been successfully added, and the program stops executing because we don't have any other information to follow or any other activity to follow. In case you're going to get from the dictionary or going to get the information from the dictionary, you have to use the get from dictionary. And give again the information that it will ask, string comma string, and say what is the key that you're going to get. I'm going to get the username. So this will be the username, and the value. Whenever you're taking a value from the dictionary, you need to create another variable to store that particular value, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say value output. So here when I put a message box and say I've not mentioned the dictionary name, so hence it is throwing the error. So let me mention the dictionary name as well. So now the error is gone. Now I'm going to go ahead and say what is the message box. I'm going to just print value output. So the value output, I'm assuming that it will have the value that it is fetched for the key username. Whatever was stored inside the dictionary, it will go ahead and fetch that particular value and store it inside a variable called value output. Let me go ahead and execute that particular program again. It goes inside the loop. It is going to add it to the dictionary. Now that we have finally added the information, I have used a get from dictionary for the username field. So what I'm assuming, whatever value for the username field was added, for the username key was added, needs to be returned when I use get from dictionary for the value, for the key username. So let me see. For the when I said get from dictionary username, it is returning customer ABC. So this is the concept of using dictionary. And as we know, clear dictionary is going to be, you're going to clear the entire content of the dictionary.